Hello. Welcome back to the Cassandra Project. Today we're going to look at radiation exposure. I'm going to first of all start with my assumptions in that matter for this video. First of all, we're going to lump it all together because it really doesn't matter if you can block the alpha and beta radiation from your clothing. If the gamma goes right through you, you're still going to get sick or die. So I've lumped it all together. As far as because you don't want to breathe any of this stuff. So, oh yeah, I've got a face mask, so I've stopped the alpha and the beta, so I don't have to worry now. Don't, oh, no, you still have to worry. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assume the fact that we're in a general nuclear war. It's not just a single terrorist bomb, which of a smaller yield, in which case you have the medical resources of the entire country and that can come to bear to help the victims. In a general nuclear war, a lot of hospitals are going to be destroyed. Surviving hospitals are going to be swamped by hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of victims, and that goes across the board. For example, there's only 2,000 burn deaths in the United States of America, and probably a couple hundred in Canada. And how long do you think those will last? Even the ones that survive, because a lot of them are in urban centers. When you got millions of hundreds of thousands of severely burned people, maybe even millions of severely burned people. So you're on your own. So when I do talk about things you can do to help yourself, I'm going to talk about DIY home remedies that can help deal with symptoms. Okay, we'll start now, starting with lethality. What is it going to take to kill you? Well, we're going to use sieverts, which is a currently most common measurement for the effect of radiation on the human body. One sievert will get you sick in the short term. Five sieverts, you got about a 50-50 chance of living or dying, and you're going to be really sick. By the time you get to 10 sieverts, it's lethal. You're going to be, dead in a matter of weeks, maybe even less, and there's nothing going to save you. So the symptoms you get depends on the dose. But first, we'll talk about the fact that radiation sickness has essentially three phases. There's the initial phase, where you have some initial symptoms that hit you, and then there's a bit of a lull, a latency phase, where there's no symptoms for a short period of time, and then you get the next set of symptoms, and that's the ones that are going to do you in that aspect of it. Now, the thing is the longer it takes for initial symptoms to show up, the less radiation you got. The shorter, the worse you got. The longer the latent period, the less radiation you got. The shorter the latent period, or in just cases, if you're like at 8 sieverts or better, there is no latent period. Obviously, the worse radiation you got. So, one or two sieverts, the initial phase, you're going to have some nausea and vomiting. That's about it. And there's going to be a lull for about 4 weeks. And then you will have a general malaise, weakness, fatigue. And that's about it. Um, Now, if you get up to 2 to 6 sieverts, so you're going to have nausea and vomiting within a couple hours. Diarrhea will start about 8 hours later. You're going to have a headache the next day, and fever will start in about 3 hours. You'll have a latent period of anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. It's 1 week for 2 sieverts, 4 weeks. 4 weeks for 2 sieverts, 1 week for 6 sieverts, and then you'll have the same weakness and fatigue. But you will also get hair loss, bloody vomit, bloody stools, infections, poor wound healing, low blood pressure. If people could actually tested your blood, you would find that your white blood count will have dramatically decreased, as will your platelet count. So there that is. Now, at 6 to 8 sieverts, now we're talking about the dose that the workers that working on trying to clean up at Chernobyl, the first responders got, who ended up dying within a month. You're going to start vomiting in about an hour, diarrhea about 3 hours later, headaches in 4, fever starts in an hour. At best, you're going to have a 1 week latent period, and then you're going to have dizziness, disorientation, weakness and fatigue, the hair loss, bloody vomit and stools, infections, poor wound healing, and all that nastiness. Um, and you're going to start breaking out in these little ulcers on your skin that can give you this spotted look, and you are going to start actually there's this little hemorrhaging things, and you're going to start hemorrhaging in your internal organs, and then and of course if you've got the really nasty dose, anywhere from 8 to 10 sieverts, you're going to start throwing up within minutes, have diarrhea within an hour, headaches in a couple of hours, fever. There's going to be no latency. It just continues on. The symptoms will just all pile on top of one another, with all the symptoms said before: the dizziness, the weakness and fatigue, hair loss, bloody vomit and diarrhea, all sorts of. Yeah, actually, your wounds won't be healing. You literally your insides will be liquefying. Um, You'll be dying from dehydration because your intestinal tract will die and it cannot absorb any food or water or anything else like that. You can be suffering brain death. Death. It's pretty god awful way to die. It's a horrible way to die, radiation sickness. In fact, it's horrible to have it and even survive it. I mean, it's yeah. I was reading accounts from Hiroshima and they were pretty nasty there. So, you've got sick, you're exposed to radiation at some point or another. You found no way of really getting away from it. How long it's taken you to get the symptoms from the time you were exposed. It can give you a sense of just what your chances are, if you don't have a dosimeter or Geiger counter to tell you the exact number. Um, and so if it's pretty grim, it's pretty grim. You'll have to decide what you can do for yourself there. But if you're you have it, and well, actually, always try and give yourself the best chance you can. So, what can you do to treat the symptoms? Obviously, things like ammonium, to try and control the diarrhea, and try and slow that down, because you lose a lot of nutrients and water and through diarrhea, and anti-nausea drugs like Gravol, whatnot. Again, for the same thing, you don't want to be throwing up all the time. And of course, aspirin for the headaches and fever. If you really have bad nausea and bad diarrhea, you want to create yourself some oral hydration salts. If you don't have some, you mix some sugar and some salt together with some water and try and keep your electrolytes balanced, and keep yourself hydrated. That's what you can do. And like I said, if in a general nuclear war, you do not want to try and depend on the medical system. And you definitely do not want to expose yourself to fallout, just to radiation, in order just to get to the hospital, and then be found you having to lie on the pot, out in the open on the parking lot waiting to be looked at. So you don't want to do that if it's at all possible. Now, if you're in a smaller town, yeah, all bets are off. Your hospital is not overrun. Yet, of course, there'll be a lot of survivors coming in from the big cities. If you can get there ahead of everybody else, you'll get decent treatment. If you're in the big city hospital, you got all sorts of issues. The ones that haven't been destroyed or damaged, the ones that still have doctors that can actually and nurses that can stand on their feet and work, are going to be swamped. They're going to quickly run out of supplies. As far as even their diesel generators, they generally have anywhere from 2 to 4 days worth of supply of diesel fuel. And how are they going to get more? Our truck drivers going to drive through radiated areas to get the fuel to them, even if they can get through the blocked streets, even if the refiners are still existing. So it's not a good situation. There it is. I'm just trying to be honest. It'd be cool if all the hospitals survived and could take care of everybody, but it can get pretty grim. Just look at the hospital scene from the British movie Threads from 1983, I think it was, or 1984, and that shows you just how grim it can get. Well, please subscribe and like this video, and if you have any comments, please put them below, and support me through YouTube by subscribing as well as Patreon. Bye for now.